A lot of talk about affordability in New Jersey. Rosemary, what specific ideas do you have to help families and seniors who are struggling to stay here rather than having to move out of the community?
Mm,
I mean, look, I could say that in terms of affordability and so on and so forth. I mean, Rosemary's a realtor, so she deals with these issues on a day-to-day basis. I mean, affordability is a big problem. I can talk personally. I told you I raised my 4 kids here. None of them can afford to live in Bergen County, and when you have, obviously we're talking about development, responsible development, and when you sit down with a developer, when a planning board sits down with a developer, when a town council sits down with a developer to plan a major development, they need to be able to negotiate with the developer and get whatever they can from that developer in terms of affordable housing and senior housing. I mean, the
But
developers.
what idea do you have to help families and seniors in the assembly level, not on the municipal level, though, yet?
Just the importance of encouraging towns to get the responsible development done with developers. I mean, it's all a negotiation. At the assembly level, I mean, we could work on property taxes. It's a tough nut to crack. It's easier said than done. But I mean, in terms of the assembly level, I think it's important that we be able to get out there and make things more affordable all around, whether in terms of getting state money, more state money down to the local level or to the county level down to the local level. There's a lot of stuff to talk about and think about. It's a very, very large and complex organization, the state that we live in.
Thank you. Thank you.
just wanted to, my question of affordable housing was basically, it's really, can we find a way to create some type of ratio where when we look at new developments, we can control how many rentals are being built in comparison to places for ownership? Because if we have a higher amount of ownership, of available ownership, then we will actually have a lower price when it comes to what's available on the market, due to the supply and demand.
I didn't understand the racial part of
The
that.
ratio.
Ratio, not racial.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to get the wax out
That's
of my
actually,
ear.
let me answer
And that could have been me.
That's pretty simple. It goes back to what I said earlier. It's all part of the negotiation with the developer. In other words, if you give the developer, and it has to be a give and take, not just give the developer everything, but it has to be a give and take. It has to be worth it for the developer. I understand that. But also, if you encourage them somehow, there's other financial reasons why developments are mostly rentals now, not sale. But if you give the developer enough encouragement and incentive to create more units for sale, then they'll do that. It just has to be worth their while. It's all part of that negotiation.
Your point,
and I think one of the
point, Henry, I think, is that you want to get what you want out of this. You don't want to just go with the market flow, and
right.
then we're sitting there with people making money, sleeping in other communities, and we're jammed up with the wrong thing for the community.
Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with making money, but it has to work sort of like as best as you can for everyone.
Right. Tamar, one of the topics, it's a hot topic actually in our district, is development. Many of the people are concerned about the stormwater management and overdevelopment, the effects that this has on the topography of storied communities. How do we balance the growth of our communities with preserving the character of our towns? Where do you stand on this issue?
I just muted myself. Yeah, this is, the issue that is always spoken about. And I don't think it's simple. I think that we do need to strike a balance. Look, we need more housing in New Jersey. We have a major housing shortage. It's the reason why one of the reasons it's so expensive here. But we need to do development smartly. And I think that the way that the state can help is by incentivizing smart development, encouraging smart zoning. And that will enable us to increase housing, but to also, again, sort of save the character of a lot of these very, very unique towns, specifically in Bergen County. I think that I think that we need to have this, the affordable housing obligation in theory is a good idea. I think that there are issues with it in the sense that, and I think that we can make it better. So for example, there are certain larger urban areas that are exempt from this housing requirement, but they are developing. But if we can add those units that they're anyway developing into, I guess, the denominator of all this total amount, then that will reduce the requirement on other towns. And I think that that is one way we can help. And then again, I think the state, in general has this ability, with carrot and stick to incentivize, smarter development. And obviously we need to be concerned about these environmental and issues for sure. And every town has a different story. I was at a council meeting in Englewood last week. I had to run out because a child had a test the next day and I was late to help her study. But you hear people speaking about this in towns all over, and it's a big issue. You've got planning boards, councils dealing with this, and everyone is struggling with this requirement. So I think that I think the requirement in general is a good idea, but it is not, it is very, very far from perfect. And I think if we can tailor it a bit better.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamar. Dan, where are you on responsible development?
I echo everything Tamar's saying, and we've done the same in Tenafly. There's smart ways to do it. You just have to be mindful, and we keep the character of our town. I mean, things are evolving, but there's a lot of resistance to change, obviously. But we are planning accordingly as best we can. Our number is quite large this year. I think it's going to be 220, 230. But again, every time we get an opportunity to use our COA funds to find a property worth developing on our own, not with a private developer, we're aggressive on it. There's a property you might have heard this, Mayor, with Mayor Rustin, back in the day. We bought 4 single-family homes in a row. We used our COA funds, so it cost the taxpayers nothing. It was roughly $2 million total. We went out to bid with a nonprofit, the United Way won, and they will be building 16 to 18 affordable veteran homes. So you can do it. You just got to be aggressive. A lot of these towns the stigma behind the word affordable is really, it's what kills a lot of the.
Good morning. Thank you for calling Hackensack Riverkeeper. This is Henry. I could assist you.
Henry, just want to put yourself on mute if you don't mind. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for a thorough answer.
You did talk a lot about regionalization, both with respect to costs as well as flood mitigation and the like, and solving some of our affordable housing problems. Dan, what you're doing in Tenafly is spectacular. Wow. Now, to me, that's a statewide solution instead of giving the developers 80% of what is built. I can't at market rate. To me, that is the urbanization of suburbia. And I really like how, Tamar, you talked about opening up the urban areas, not having them exempt. And we have an area right here, Bergenfield. That's one of the exempt areas. I just don't understand it and why Englewood isn't. So that with that in the background, how do you propose that we work toward these ends when historically New Jersey is very parochial and provincial with respect to home rule?
So me and Tamar have been doing these meet and greets, and that comes up at every single one. Like, how does my town keep its character? How do I keep my kingdom my kingdom? My question to everyone is, what is your price point? How high do taxes have to go for you to keep that? So you got to keep that in mind. You've got to let go of certain things and start sharing the service. Like, you got to start thinking outside the box. You can keep Tenafly can stay Tenafly, but there are certain things that won't be Tenafly, like these housing issues, transit issues, or storm water management issues, things like that. It won't be under our control, but it will be a part of a bigger picture.
Do you propose that the state work with the counties to help do that?
Yes. It's basically it's an economy of scale. It's just more cost efficient. It's too expensive for us to take on a loan. Some towns are too small. Just like if you keep going north, some of these towns are 8,000 population, 4,000 population. It's too big for these small towns to take on, and even cities, it's just to take that burden on in certain cities. Just getting piping into the ground it's a nightmare. It's we've got to be more effective with the way we think about these solutions.
I think also that is a place for the county commissioners to play a role, right? Like we do have county level government. And from speaking with council people, like there's not necessarily the type of coordination that you would expect, but that would be the, natural way to think about it. Like for example, I think Dan was talking about this with Teaneck and Bergenfield. I don't remember which two towns, but extending a bike path, right? But then it stopped at the border. But then they were starting a bike path somewhere else. But we can just do this in a smarter way. But that requires getting everyone to the table, thinking a little bit out of the box. And I think there are ways to do it. Again, you don't want to destroy the character of those towns, though, right? Like people are there multiple generations, but there are ways to do things in a more responsible way.
Yep.